Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with the powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I will be giving you my in-depth review of the board game Perch, published by Inside Up Games. Now, Perch is a board game for 2 to 5 players, ages 14 plus, right around 45 to 60 minutes per playthrough, and this is designed by Hettrick and illustrated by Ari Oliver. I do apologize if I pronounce any of your names incorrectly. If this is your first time watching an in-depth review video from us guys, we go a little bit more in-depth than maybe some other content creators do, and we break the game down into several different categories. These categories are theme, components, setup, length, difficulty, replayability, and price. Within each of these 7 different categories, I will be giving them a number rating equivalent to the BGG scale, and at the conclusion of me talking about these 7 categories, I'll give you my overall rating for the game. As well, I'll talk about, in part of that overall rating, I'll talk about some things that I really liked about the game, some things that I particularly did not enjoy about the game, and last but not least, to kind of wrap up the video, since most of these games I do review, I have backed on either Kickstarter or GameFound, I'll ask the proverbial question: if I had the opportunity to back this game again, would I do so? All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into today's review, taking a look at Perch. So starting off with the theme here, we're going to be taking a look at how well the game is going to immerse players into the theme or the setting or the story of this particular game. And I'm coming with an 8 out of 10 here. I think Perch does have some great thematic integration. I think it has great consistency between the mechanics of the game and this overall theme of essentially area majority, right? Perch's theme is you are players around the board and you're trying to fight for control of these different tiles or perches, as they're going to call them, in different locations, like mostly trees and stuff like that. But you're going to do this through placing your own birds, your opponent's birds, or you can gain friendships with different animals and use them to kind of gain majority on these perches. And so it's just a really unique take on an area majority game. But what's also really cool about it is sometimes you don't want to be the highest, or you don't want to have the highest area majority on a given tile, because you would want the second most to score the most points. So there's some tiles where it's like you really don't want to have area majority on them. Really quickly, guys, I do want to go ahead and jump down to the table and give you a brief overview of how these mechanics tie into this game. All right, guys, we are down here at the table where we have everything set up for a game of Perch. Now, before I dive into the video, I do want to note that this is the Kickstarter edition of the game. So some of the acrylic components that you see here and maybe some of the other tiles might not be in the retail edition of this game if you were to pick it up. So really quickly, guys, just want to give you a brief overview of the mechanics and how it's going to tie into the game. So you can see these tile boards over here. This is kind of going to be the game board and area where you are going to be placing these birds from your flock. So you will choose a color and you're going to get these cool like rubbery clay birds, and that's going to be your flock. And essentially what you're going to do is on your turn, you'll place some of these birds in a flock. Let's just say we got 2 blue in here, and then 2 yellow and 2 green. And so you'd place a certain number of birds in here, and then you would grab 2 of your own birds to start with, and then you're going to go around and you're going to pull some birds from this bag. So let's just say I pull 2 random out, and so those are the birds that I have to place this turn. And so then you will take turns placing these birds out one at a time at these different locations. And again, you are trying to most of the time have area majority, but some instances it's not best to have that, like for example this Japanese maple tree. So whoever has the most birds on here scores 4, whoever has the second most would score 7. So you will score at the end of each round. So that is essentially the mechanics of the game. There are creatures that you can gain friendship with, so they're going to have certain tiles where if you have area majority, so for example the doghouse, at the end before the end of the round, there'll be a phase where you just look at the bonuses on these tiles. So the controlling player becomes the dog controller. this player would now have access to the dog. And the dog, on your turn, you can use him as a bonus action to do what it says on his card. So move the dog to any adjacent location, and then some sort of effect would happen where you can manipulate either your birds on a certain tile or other people's birds on a tile. And throughout the game, you're going to be scoring victory points here. Again, you guys are going to play 5 rounds, and in rounds 4 and 5, you can put some bird houses out. You can use lightning to strike other people's birds down. There's also opportunities for you to have like asymmetric flock ability power, so you can distribute these cards in the beginning of the game. And then also you will have objective cards as well that will score you extra victory points towards the end of the game. But there's a whole bunch of different creatures and tiles that you're going to be able to work with here. But in terms of the mechanics, slowly talking about this theme of the game of you're trying to fight for control of these different perches on here, I think they do a great job. So that's why I'm giving the theme an 8 out of 10. All right, guys, I'm gonna stay down here really quickly and talk about the components. So when we're looking at the components, we are taking a look at the quality and usability of these pieces that the board game has. We're taking a look at the insert. Does the insert function really well? What does the artwork and things look like? And I'm giving Perch here a 9.5 out of 10. I was so close to really giving this one a 10 out of 10, but look, I think there is some excellent quality components here with only just one small minor thing as to where I felt I really could not give this a 10 out of 10. But let's take a look at all these components. Obviously, the number one thing is going to be these birds, and I love the feel of these birds. I don't know if this is clay or rubber or what they've done here, but it's a nice sturdy substance. They feel great, and of course they can stack on top of each other. So that's also the other cool part about this game is as you put more birds on these locations, they will be able to stack. So you guys can see them there. They will be able to stack on these different locations, and they have like bases that you could use to make them stand still if you would like. So I think these birds are excellent. They function really well. They do the great job. The tiles themselves, nice and thick, sturdy tiles. I'm not really worried about wear and tear here. The artwork on these different tiles are fantastic. They do have a lot of tiles for you to use, so a lot of variety here with the game. You got basic tiles. You have all the different types of creatures that you can play with. You'll choose 3 creatures at a time to play with. And then here are just some more tiles, so special tiles that are going to have effects as well. So there's an abundance of tiles here. Each of them have their own unique artwork on there, a bunch of different locations. So I really think they've done an excellent job as well. Some of the other components, we got bird nests and bird houses. They're made of that same rubbery clay substance as the birds are. And then of course you have all these acrylic components. So acrylic standees for all of your creatures, all the rest of your creatures here. We have acrylic tokens and things like that. And then the inserts themselves are really great, or excellent. This is the best word I can use, is excellent as well. I love this little, I don't know, pie looking insert that they've used to store all of the birds. So it's super simple. You can just put this out on the table. It slides in right there. It has its own perfect space. All of your tiles and your cards will go down in here. Tiles on top of that, tiles here. You got player aid cards, which are phenomenal. Makes it super simple, super easy to understand what the game is going on. You got all the excess creatures, which will go here, and then the rest of your tiles there. Insert is excellent, designed excellently, if that's even a word. The only minor thing I felt as to why I could not give this a 10 out of 10 is the bag. You can look at this draw bag. This is a very small draw bag, and this thing needed to be a bit bigger. You can tell it only goes up to my knuckles. Now I do have a little bit bigger hands, but over time you're gonna fill this bag up. And once this bag gets really filled up, you're gonna be like moving the bag out here to try and grab stuff from it. And it can just be a headache sometimes. They should have just used a bigger bag. So for me, that's the one minor flaw in the components here as to why I felt like I could not give this a 10 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the setup. So when it comes to the setup, we are looking at the time and ease of getting the game to the table and getting the game ready. And I'm coming here with a 9 out of 10 for Perch. So I think there's an excellent setup to Perch. It's very quick. It's very logical. You are getting out that little pie tray. Everybody's choosing a color, so you'll put it somewhere where they get their, they're gonna get their flock. Depending on your player count, you're gonna get the number of tiles that you need. So you're gonna need 3 creature tiles, and then in a 2-player game, you get 5 more tiles. A 4-player game, 3-player game, I don't remember off the top of my head how many other tiles you would get. You would then get the nest set up on the board, and then the acrylic pieces that you need out, and you guys are actually ready to go at that point. So under 5 minutes here for the setup, very logical, very step-by-step, easy to understand, and get this one to the table. So 9 out of 10, excellent setup for me. All right, moving on to the length. So when it comes to the length, we are looking at how well the game fits the experience. We're not necessarily looking at the total time of the game, but we're really looking at the pacing and the satisfaction that you got from playing this one. And so I'm coming in with a 10 out of 10 in terms of the length for Perch. Now it does say 45 to 60 minutes on the box, and I think that does hold true. But in terms of the pacing and kind of does the game end at the right time for what it offers, I think this is a 10 out of 10. I think Perch is perfectly paced. I think it ends at just the right time for what it's trying to offer and give you. And so there's only 5 rounds in the game, and the turns are super simple. You're gonna have 4 birds, okay? You'll have a mix of your birds and other people's birds. You will place 1 bird out on a location at a time, and then you can take a bonus action. And majority of these bonus actions are gonna be build a birdhouse, but you can only build a birdhouse starting in round 4, use a lightning bolt, but you can only use that starting in the last round in round 5, or use a creature if you have one. Well, round 1, nobody's gonna be able to have a creature yet, so the only thing they're gonna be able to do is place a bird on their turn. And then the subsequent rounds, you're only allowed to use a creature 1 time for that round. So really you're just taking a bird, placing it on that tile and trying to gain area majority. And so their game really doesn't stall out. It really doesn't lag. And I feel like by the time you get to the 5th round, you're like, okay, I've got the hang of the game. I know what I'm doing. It just really ends at the right time. So they've done a perfect job here with the pacing of this game, which is why I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the difficulty. As always, remember, the lower the number, the easier we feel the game is. The higher the number, the more challenging we feel the game is. And also when it comes to difficulty, we are looking at how complex the rules are and the decision making is when it comes to playing this game. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 10. I think Perch is a casual gamer level style game. It's got very light strategy. It's very approachable. It's a very casual area control style game, right? You don't have to worry about contesting, like you are contesting these locations, but you're just doing it by the number of birds you have on that location. There's no battles, there's no extra steps or cards that I need to play. It's just very simple. I'm just trying to have more birds than you, and can I able to do that to score more points? And so I think they made this a very casual, family-friendly, light-hearted, not very light strategy style game. I mean, it's simple. The main way you're going to score victory points is by having that majority or second most of placing your birds out. And at the end of the day, I think they made just this one just very approachable with the theme. So that's why I'm giving this one a 3 out of 10 for difficulty. Very easy, very easy. Okay, moving on to the replayability, guys. So when it comes to the replayability, we are looking at how fresh or engaging the game is going to feel after multiple plays. And I'm coming at this one with a 9 out of 10. I think there's some excellent variety with room to explore a bunch of new strategies when it comes to Perch. No game is ever going to really feel the same because you have so many different creatures, right? Each creature is going to be different. I think there's like 10 plus different creatures in the game. You're gonna choose 3 at a time. Each of them are different and you can do combinations. The tiles themselves, you got your basic tiles, you got special tiles that have abilities on them, right? So the tiles are gonna change in terms of scoring with the different tiles. Also, they might have abilities on them, right, as well. You can add in those asymmetric flock abilities. You add in objectives that you're trying to accomplish to score more victory points as well. So there's a lot of variety when it comes to Perch and how to play the game. And when you're playing it multiple times, I think it does an excellent job of making the game still feel fresh every time you get this one to the table. So 9 out of 10 when it comes to the replayability for me. All right, guys, the last one is going to be the price here. So when it comes to the price, we are taking a look at the value for the cost. So not just the price tag itself, but what you are getting for that actual price tag. And I'm coming in here with a 9 out of 10. So I think this is an excellent price for Perch. I did back the Kickstarter version of this game for $37 US. So taking all that into account for what we got, you got some really premium components when it comes to the acrylic standees, all the acrylic tokens. You got the abundance of creatures. I love the rubbery clay flock birds. You can stack them on top of each other. So for $37 US, I feel like that is an excellent price point because most games right now, when you're talking acrylic standees, acrylic tokens, you're talking about maybe some premium clay or rubber components. That's going to run you a little bit higher price tag than I would say $37 to $40. I would say that's more maybe like a $49 or $50 price tag. So being able to pick this one up at $37 US, I think that's an excellent price point, 9 out of 10. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to my overall rating. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Perch a 9 out of 10. I think Perch is an excellent area control / area majority game. It does a lot of things really well. I think it's got some excellent replayability with all the different creatures and all the different tiles. Each game is going to feel fresh. I think the game is perfectly paced here. So you play the game, it makes you want to play the game again, or you finish your game and you're like, man, I'm actually happy with that. I think it ended at the perfect time. I think I did everything that I wanted to be able to do to try and get as many points as I can, right? The components look great. All in all, excellent game. So let's go ahead and talk about 2 things that I really enjoyed about Perch. The first one, I think this is just a really unique take on area control. Most area control games or area majority games, you are trying to have the most of one, army or something, in this case birds, in one specific location. And that is kind of the end all be all. And what I like about Perch is they've kind of refreshed that a little bit to where it's like 80% or 90% of the time, that's the case. But there's that 10 to 20% where you're gonna have certain tiles where you don't wanna have the area majority because the area majority is gonna be smaller points than if you had the second most. So it's this unique take of not only are you placing your own pieces out on the board, but you have the potential to draw your opponent's pieces. And so like you could use your opponent's pieces to stack on a particular tile, and then they go from having the second most to the most, and now they end up scoring less points. And so I think that's just a really unique take and way to play most area control and area majority games. And I also really enjoy that this is like an entry level area control, area majority style game, right? This is very casual. It's very family friendly. It's got a very approachable theme. So I enjoy that as well. The second thing that I really like about the game is it works well at 2 players, and there's not a whole lot of extra maintenance, okay? Most area majority games or area control style games, or most big box, well, it's not really a big box, medium to heavy, big size box games that are at 2 players, you're gonna need to add in some sort of third player or AI player or autonomous player, and there's gonna be some sort of maintenance associated with that. And like, for me, the biggest one I can think off the top of my head, which is probably a terrible example, is like Lords of Ragnarok, right? If you wanted to play Lords of Ragnarok 2 player, you had to have that autonomous player, and he had a bunch of setup and maintenance and things like that. With this one, when you play it at 2 players, players, all you're picking is another color, and you will add in birds of that color into the bag as well for you to pull out. And so it kind of neutralizes maybe some of the things that you want to do. And it's super simple. That's the only maintenance you have for that, because the other bird color doesn't score points. It doesn't get the creatures, but it can prevent you from getting creatures or prevent your opponent from getting creatures. So I like what they've done here, where they've taken a really good game and they've made it really enjoyable and work really well at the player count. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about two things that I particularly did not enjoy about Perch. The very first one is I had a hard time understanding the use of the garden board. So the garden board, the main purpose is it also serves as a victory point track and a round marker, but there are potential tiles that can send your birds, or maybe some creatures can send your birds to this garden for you to score extra points. But very rarely does that ever happen. I think the highest level that I've ever gotten birds to in a game is like level 2 or level 3. I don't know how you're getting birds to level 6. Maybe in higher player count games, you'll be able to do that. But for me, at that 2 to 3 player count, I just really didn't see a use of that. I think that's just an unnecessary extra mechanic to the game that they really could have just left out. For me. So that's something that I particularly did not enjoy a whole lot. And the second one, I've already mentioned it, is that small pull bag right here when we talk about the components thing. I think just this thing is way too small. When you're playing this at higher player counts, you're going to need a bigger bag, or else you're really not going to get a whole lot of randomization or variability out of that one. But those are the two things that I particularly did not enjoy about the game. All in all, guys, again, I still think Perch is an excellent game here. So 9 out of 10 for my overall rating. All right, guys, time to finish this video off. If I had the opportunity to back this game again, would I do so? Absolutely, yes. I think for $37 US for the replayability here, all the components and the price, the content that you're getting, the usability of all the pieces, I think this was a great, excellent pickup for me. So I definitely would back Perch again if I had the opportunity to do so. All right, guys, well, look, that is the conclusion of my in-depth review here for Perch. If you guys enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit the notification bell, drop down in the comments below. What do you guys think about my review? Is this spot on, or would you disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. Or would you just think of Perch in general? Have you played this one? I'd love to know your thoughts on it. And last but not least, guys, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.